Snares are one of the most important parts of a track. It keeps the beat going, it keeps the track moving, it gives you the kind of groove without realising it. So you need snappy snares, and I'm going to tell you how to get them. So the first thing is with a snare is that it's very much the transient that's hitting in. You want it to be really fast and sharp. You can lose that quite a lot in mastering. It's very easy to lose it, which is why it's super important to be A-Bing between what you're doing so that you don't lose what the mix engineer or producer has done with their snare. Very important to get that snare kind of heavy in the lower part of it so that it gives it that hard whack with some EQ, but make sure the compression isn't too tight on there, because it's very easy to, if you're using something like in mastering an SSL compressor or something that's going across the whole top of the mid range, it sounds very nice because the track's all kind of glued down, but then you switch it between the A and the B and you've lost that kind of sharpness and that space within the instrumentation. So, and especially with the snare, you've kind of like pushed it all in and then you've lost that kind of hitting snare over the top. So one of the things I'm always listening to as I'm mastering is, how's that snare hitting? Is it hitting all the way through? Because that's something that subconsciously people are hearing and they're noticing. They might not necessarily think that's the snare and that's what I'm listening to. But as you're well aware, that's the thing that's kind of keeping the groove going. So part of it. But my advice to you is, if you want to pull the snare out a little bit, then I always kind of put in around, around the mids, around 2.4K, something like that. Open it up with a cue just to hear what's going on. The only problem you have there is there's a lot of vocals going on and there's also some guitars and it's quite busy in that area, so you can start making it sound really hard. So it's kind of getting a balance between it being hard and soft. You need to use an EQ that's going to do that, that's not too brittle. If you use a brittle EQ, then yeah, you get that hard thing, which is quite nice. If you haven't got a vocal in over the top, then that hardness can work all right, because it's going to give you a nice edge. But if you've got a vocal over the top and suddenly the vocals start sounding all hard, I mean, the vocal is what most of the majority of people are listening to, first of all. The track is the vocal and then it's everything supporting the vocal. So if the vocal changes, that changes the style and the sound of the song more than the snare's going to. So that's the balance there. So it really is a question of, if you need to bring it out, but it's more for me to get a snappy snare is to listen and make sure that you're not compressing too much, because if you start pushing into the compressors or limiters, then they're going to make it sound crushed. You're going to lose that snap transients on there and you're just going to end up with a track that's just sounding a bit flat and not edgy enough, and it's the snare that brings out some edge in the mid-range. So that's my top tip on getting snappy snare. It's not kind of what you do with that, it's kind of just making sure you watch out for what you are doing and make sure you're not ruining it. And if you need to add a bit more, just throw a bit of EQ in there and try and bring that out. So thanks for watching. Until next time, if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. Please subscribe. Goodbye.